I'm Jennifer Malley, the Executive Director of Good Foundations International. We're a nonprofit out of Wisconsin in the United States, and we are going to do a video today showing you how to make handmade books out of found or recycled paper and other objects. So this binding that's right here is called the Coptic stitch, and we're going to learn how to bind two hard covers together with a series of paper signatures on the inside. So these are various books that I've made using that stitch. So there are many variations of how to make this book in terms of sizes, types of paper, and the type of coverings that you would like to have on your book. Today, I'm going to be making the cover using a fabric that I got in Africa. So I thought this would make a beautiful, show you how to make a beautiful book from your own African fabrics. What you're going to need in terms of supplies for this bookmaking project is any kind of paper like this. This is just copy paper for a printer. You can also use handmade paper. You can use any kind of paper that you would like on the inside of your book. You're also going to need 2 pieces of cardboard that are, when you fold your inside paper in half to make a book, okay, we've chosen this size paper, your cardboard is going to have to be the size of your paper, all right? And this does not have to be any kind of special cardboard. You can use recycled cardboard, cardboard that from boxes. You're also going to need glue because you're going to glue your fabric to your covers. You're going to need a pencil, some type of a clamp. There's many different ways we can do this, but these are 2 office clamps. This is waxed thread. So it's thread, but it does have a wax coating on it to make it a little stiffer. You don't need this exact tool, but you need either a ruler or something to help you make folds in the paper. You need a long needle, a scissors, a ruler, and you either need, this is called an awl, and this pokes holes in your cardboard. You can also use a nail instead of this tool. So the next thing we're going to do is make the cover to our book, and here are 2 pieces of cardboard, and we're going to cut 2 pieces of fabric or paper or anything that you want to see on the cover of your book. So I'm going to glue these pieces of fabric to this cardboard. So this is going to be the front of the book. Okay. So I'm going to put glue on here, and I'm going to use a brush, and I'm going to cover . Set this down here in the center and make sure that it's firmly attached to the fabric. And I'm going to move it out of the way, and I'm going to put a weight on it so that it dries flat. So I'm going to put a brick on it, and we're going to let that dry. And then we're going to do the same thing to the back of the cover. And we're going to press it in the middle, press it down. And we're also going to put a weight on this until it dries. And then we're going to come back and I'll show you how to glue the edges around the covers. Okay, so we have glued the fabric onto the front and the back covers. And now we are going to glue the fabric over the sides. So we're going to take a scissors, and on each corner we are going to cut the fabric on an angle like this. We're going to come in what that does is it gives us a nice clean corner. All right, so we're going to now glue these edges down and go back to my glue again, and I'm going to paint the glue on the cardboard. And it doesn't hurt to get some of the glue on the outer edge of your cardboard as well. Now let's put up this piece here. And this is where having a nice straight edge can help get these tucked in very nicely. And if you've missed a little bit of glue and some edges, now's a good time to catch it. Okay. All right, so we smooth everything. Smooth everything down. Okay, so we have a nice front, and here's the back. Now we don't want to see these edges, so I've cut a piece of white paper that's just a little bit smaller than the overall dimension, and I'm going to glue this onto here, okay? And it just makes it look nice and clean. Again, you want to smooth it out. This, maybe you need a little extra glue in the corners. And then we are again going to put a weight on this. And if we don't want to get the surface dirty, we can do this. And we're going to wait for that to dry, and we're going to repeat it with the back cover. All right. So again, here's our front cover, and we are going to put our white piece on the back. All right. Smooth it down. Again, put a weight on it, and we're going to wait until the glue dries, and then we'll return and I'll show you the next. So while our covers are still drying under these bricks, we're going to go ahead and make the pages for our booklet. So we're going to take our full sheet of paper and we're going to fold it exactly in half. And I've decided that I want 24 pages folded in half. Okay? Now we're going to make what's called a signature, and a signature are pages that are tucked inside of each other. So one signature is going to have 4 pages laid together like this with one crease. So this is one signature. So we're going to make all the pages in sets of 4, 5, 6 bundles of 4 pages put together. So this is going to be the thickness of our book, right? And the next thing we need to do is, looking at the back of the book, we need to determine, as in this book, where we want to put all of our stitches. We could, like this book, have them in sets of 3. We could also have them in sets of 4. We could have them evenly spaced. You can do whatever you like. What I decided to do was to put them evenly spaced all the way across. We're going to have 10 sets of binding stitches across the back of this book. So I took a piece of stiff cardboard and I measured out, equally spacing, I measured out 10 dots, 10 spaces, these signatures. So the first thing I'm going to do is, you can use your awl, or you can use a nail, but you're going to want to put, you're going to fold your piece of cardboard in half, and in the fold you're going to punch holes where you measured your spaces. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to punch a hole. So I have my holes punched. Okay, now one by one, I am going to place this. You can either place it in the inside and punch your holes this way, or you can put it on the outside and punch your holes. I'm going to choose to put it on the inside. I'm going to line my edges up and make sure I'm right in the crease. And I'm going to take my awl and I'm going to punch through. Okay, so now I have holes punched in this set, and now I'm going to do that to all the sets. Another method that we can use to align all the holes that we are going to make in the center of each set of our 4 pages. Okay, so we have a set of 4 pages called a signature, and we want to make sure we have holes punched down the center of the fold of each set. So I had made a template with where I want the holes punched. And again, on the first method I showed you, you could punch through the template into the fold of this. A second method is that you can put all of your signatures together like this, and here's your template, goes like this. And then with a ruler, you can, if you bind these together and hold them in place, you can take your ruler and make a line with your pencil across all of the backs folds, which are like this. It's the holes that you're going to be using to make these signatures, okay, are perfectly in line. And that's the method I'm going to use. I'm going to go through and mark all the lines with a pencil. Then I'm going to open up each of these signatures like this, and I'm going to go through and punch where my little pencil mark is. So we have another signature. Okay, and we do the next one. I have all the holes punched, and as you can see, all the holes are going to line up on the seam of all the signatures. All right, now we're going to set these aside. We're going to bind these together, set them aside, and the next step is we're going to go back and readdress how to put the holes in the covers. All right, our front and our back covers are now dry, and it's time for us to punch the holes in the front and the back cover. So what the book's going to look like in the end are, we have our signature pages with all of our holes, and we're going to put those in the middle, and this is going to close up like this. So our book is going to look like this. And we need, if you can see the finished book, we need to put holes in the cover, okay, to enable us to sew all these together and finish on a hole that's on the back side. So what we're missing before we start to sew are putting the holes in the cover. So I'm going to show you how to do that. What we're going to do is I'm going to take our signature pages out, and I'm going to set them aside. And I drew a line on the inside of the book. This is okay, so it'd be here and here. I drew it about 12 millimeters distance from the edge, which is about 1/2 inch, okay? And we go back to using the template that we had used to put all the holes, to punch the holes. We're gonna take the same template and we're gonna use it to put the holes in the cover. So we're moving the template to here. And what we can do is, with a pencil, we can just gently mark where each hole needs to be punched. We can do it to this side as well. Oops. Okay, now we have where our holes need to be. We're going to take our tool again. Again, you can use a nail. And we are going to line up the hole with the punch, and we're going to make a hole all the way through. So we have all of our holes now punched. We're in the same place as our template, okay? And I had used a pencil to draw the line and the measurement, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to erase all of those lines so that it looks nice and clean, okay? So the first thing you want to do is erase all the pencil lines, and the next thing you want to do is you have to keep track of the front and the back and the top and the bottom of everything. So I write here top, top, T for top, B for bottom, and then I write F for it's the front, and this is the back. So when I fold it, I know that this is the top front, this is the top back, because if you start to get them all confused, your holes can not line up. And it's the same with this. Make sure which direction your paper fits the best in, okay? And then what you want to do is write on each one of these, top, 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 top. Okay, this way you know that as you're doing this, you're not going to be flipping them upside down. So now you have everything labeled, and the next thing we're going to do is when we pushed our holes through onto the cover, it makes it a lot cleaner if you go back through and press down from the outside of your book back into the inside of your cover. Your holes become very clean and a lot more open looking. So as you can see, the holes become much more visible, and sometimes they're, yep, there we go, got one there, got one there. All right, so there our holes are done in our front and our back covers, and they're also made in our signatures. And now we're going to sew them together. But before we do that, we have to pick a thread, and I'm picking a thread color that doesn't match very well, but you'll be able to very easily see my stitches in a demonstration here. So I'm going to get a piece of string, and again, this is a wax coated string. It doesn't have to be the right length. You can always add to it. And I don't want to handle a string that's much more in length, longer than about this long. It'll get really tangled up if we have one longer than this. And I like to use a large needle, and if you can find a curved needle, it makes it a lot more easy to sew with. So I'm gonna thread my needle, and when I return, I will have the book set up and I'll show you how we're gonna sew our book together. Okay. So now we're gonna start to sew our book together. And we're gonna start with just one cover. And make sure that the top of your papers match the top of one of your covers. We're gonna set the other cover aside. And we're also going to only use, we're gonna use the bottom signature from this pile. And it's gonna go, because you want them to be like this. So you're gonna put this one down first, and you're gonna put the rest of them aside to sew on later, all right? So now what we have is, you have the holes in your cover facing you. You have your holes in your folded paper. You're gonna find the center fold. You're gonna line your paper up. So you want the paper to be perfectly in line here, okay? And this hole is gonna align with this hole. We're gonna clamp here. We're gonna clamp the paper down so it doesn't move. We're gonna clamp it here, okay? We're gonna fold these in. And we're gonna start sewing using the first hole in the cover and the first hole that's in your signature group of paper. So we'll take our thread, and you want to start on this first hole in the center of the fold. And you want to go down the hole. And you're gonna leave a tail here of thread inside the book, and that's okay. We're gonna just tuck it under here. We're gonna leave it, all right? And we come out the edge of the paper, and now we're going to go around and find the hole in the cover. We're gonna come out the hole in the cover. And then we're gonna go back through the same hole we came out. And we're gonna end up with the thread that we started with, and the thread that we're sewing with. This is a little tricky and you gotta get your tension right. But we're gonna start out, so we've done our first stitch right here. When we get to the inside, so now we have the tail that we left of the thread and our thread that came back through this hole, we're gonna tie these together. We're gonna make sure that they're nice and tight. And don't pull too tight because you can rip the paper. We're gonna make a knot. We're gonna make a double knot here. And we're just gonna cut this tail to be about that long, all right? So now we're gonna begin to stitch the rest of the stitches. So when we get to this point, we're gonna hop over to the next stitch. We're gonna go through the next stitch, and we're gonna come out the hole that's in the fold. Again, we're gonna go to the outside of the cover. We're gonna go through this hole, back out the center. Make sure it's tight. And we're gonna go back through the hole we originally came up through. So here we've got our next stitch. Now we're going to go again. We're going to go down through our next hole, out the fold, around, back, find your hole in your cover, come back around, sure you got it pretty snug. And then you're gonna go back in the same hole, back out to the center again. Do it again. Okay. So we have sewn on the first signature, and now we need to add from our signatures the next bottom set of 4 folded papers. So we are going to open the signature up, and we're going to open our clamps up, and we're going to set the next signature exactly on top of this signature, okay? And we're going to clamp it down. Here. So now we have the second signature directly on top, right? Now, when we come out of the center of this signature and of the first signature, and we're going to go around like we did for the rest of them, we come through the cover just like we did in all the rest of the stitches. So if we were doing any other of these stitches, I'd be having you go back into this hole. Instead, we are going to go through this loop, and then we're going to jump to this hole and go through and into the center of this loop, into this set of papers. So we are going to so we've jumped from, this is how we start to connect the second set of pages on, okay? Now we've come through the center, and what we do is we jump back to the next hole, and we're gonna go sew in this direction. So when we sewed on the first signature, we sewed in this direction. Now we're sewing back in this direction. So we're gonna go back through, our hole here. When we come out the top, we are going to, you see where we have this little stitch here? We're going to go through the stitch. Just going to pick up under the stitch. Now we're going to go back through the hole we came out of in this signature. So we're making a loop. We're going through it, we're picking up this stitch, going around it, and going back into the hole. So now we're going to come back out through the center. This. We're going to jump to the next hole. We're going to go through it, through this hole. Sorry. Okay, we're going to go through the hole. pick up this stitch right here, go around the stitch. We're going to go back through the same hole into the center again. Sometimes you got to go back and tension everything up and make it all nice and tight. All right, again, we go back through our next hole. Up through the hole. Go into our, in and around our stitch on the bottom. Back through the same hole into the center of the book again. Out the next hole. Pick up your stitch, go around the, loop it around the stitch. Back through your hole again. And you're going to complete the next stitches like that, and when we get to this stitch, I'll show you how to then we add our next signature on. Okay. So we are just finishing up putting our second signature of pages on. And I've come to the hole at the end. Actually, I showed it to you in this direction. So this is the hole at the end. And so I'm going to go down this hole and come out here. Okay. Pull this through. I'm going to go and pick up this stitch here. I'm going to come up like this. Now I'm going to take the next signature. Here's the top to this one. Here's the top to this one. I'm going to put it on top like this. I'm going to open up this signature to its center. And again, I am going to match the holes up, and I'm going to clamp it down here. All right, so I have come out, I've picked up the stitch, I come back around, now I jump. Instead of going through the hole in the second signature, I'm going to jump up and go through this hole here. And I'm going to come out in the center. So now I'm in the center, this stitch, and I'm going to start stitching back this way, right? So I'm going to go back through this hole here, and when I come out of this hole, I am now going, we used to pick up the first stitch, now I'm going to pick up the stitches between the first two signatures. So I'm going to go pick up and loop around this signature, and I'm going to pull through, and that links or attaches the next page on to this set of stitches, and then I'm going to go back through this hole again into the center. Okay, make sure it's tight. All right, now we're going to go back to this hole. We're going to go up through this hole. We're going to go through the first two, catch this stitch, go back behind the stitch, loop around it, pull up like this, go back down through our hole. Go to the next hole. Come up here. Again, we're going to go around and catch the loop of the last stitch. through there, go back down through the hole. And again, we're going to continue to do that till we get to the end, and then we're going to attach the next set of pages onto the book. So I have completed putting on all 6 signatures, all 6 sets of paper, and I came through the final hole of the last signature. I came out the fold on it, and I now am at the point where I need to put the back cover on. So I'm going to show you how that works. So I've come out through this hole here, the final hole, and I am going to again go through and catch the stitch below it. Okay, and then I am going to, here's the holes. Yep, let's see. Yep. So here's bottom, here's top, so we're aligned correctly. All right, so we're gonna, after we've caught that last stitch, we're gonna go around and go in this hole here, come up through the back of the hole of the cover. Okay, so we pull it nice and tight, and now we're gonna turn the book. We're gonna open up that center, the center of the last signature. We're gonna go through that hole. It's kind of, sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to find. There it is right here. Through the center. We're gonna pull it tight. Okay, so pulling it tight can sometimes be a little tricky. Okay, so this, now we've gotten this, we've completed this stitch. Now we're gonna go and complete the next stitch. So our thread right now is in the first hole. We're gonna go back. We're gonna have 2 sets of strings going through these holes. We're gonna go back through the second hole. And we're gonna come up through the hole in this, on the second hole. Pull it kind of tight. We are gonna go around and come up through this hole here. Okay, we're gonna go around the cover, come up through the hole in the back. Okay, pull it tight. This one got a little loose. We're gonna have to tighten that one up. And then we're gonna go back through the same hole into the center. Okay. Now I see that the first one is a little bit loose, so we're gonna have to make sure tighten some things up here. Okay. We're gonna go through the next hole. Again, we're gonna come up through the center. Go around, come up the back. And down through the hole again. Next hole. Up through the hole. Around. Up to the back of the cover. Down through the hole into the center of the pages again. So we have been sewing on the back cover of our book, and we are now to the last hole right here and sewing on our cover. So we're going to go down into the hole and come up the back side through the fold. We're going to go through the cover, out the back of the cover like this. We're going to bring that string around to the front right here. We're going to go and pick up that last stitch like we always do. We always pick up a stitch, around it, tighten it, and now we're going to go back into the hole that we came out of right here, and we are going to tie off. We're going to tie off our string, and we're going to secure it. We're going to secure our string right here. Tie it twice. Okay, we're going to cut it off. And now, let me show you what we have. We have our front cover. This is the top of our book, which we can erase now. The bottom, because we have this, erase this. Now we can go through the book, and here's the pages of our book. You can see how each signature is completely sewn into the book. Okay, all the way till we get to the back cover and close our book. And that's how you make a handmade journal.